Hey, it's Willie Armelini with Flowers and Scents with your floral industry buzz. Hey, today I'm going to interview Charles Kremp. Charles Kremp is from Kremp's Florist in Philadelphia. He's one of the largest florists in the world, according to his book. So we're going to talk to him about that and a little bit about Mother's Day and a few other things. But Charles is a good guy, and I went to visit him for Valentine's Day and to see his big family and their operation. So thought we'd do a little bit more here. So without further ado, Mr. Charles Kremp. So, Mr. Charles Kremp from Kremp's Florist in Philadelphia, good morning, and good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
Okay, so Charles, there's so much to go through. I don't know how we're going to get through it in 20 minutes, but we're going to try. So, okay, Charles, you have so many accolades in this book. And the book, let's get right to it. The book is called Life's Lessons Learned and the Happenings Along the Way. And having, we've shared this, of course, that I've wrote a book recently, and the fact that yours is like 3 times thicker than mine.
I think that's because I'm older than you.
You're older. You took more pictures and you wrote things down along the way. And I just have to read this last little thing here because I was so impressed. I was looking at this morning. If these accolades or these positions you've held, if you had a plaque for all of these, you could wallpaper your office. And I've been to your office. But President, Chairman, Society of American Florists, President of Allied Florists of Delaware Valley, President of Pennsylvania Floral Association, Chairman of the Floral Decorations for 3 presidents, Bush, Clinton, and George W. Chairman of the American Floral Council, and so on and so on and so on. So let's just put it this way. You're well versed in the flower industry, and I'm not sure if everybody knows who you are, but I'm doing my best to help out with that. And I found the book very interesting, and we've talked about it. It's a very personal event or account of your life, and I'm impressed at how you remembered all this stuff or wrote it down. And okay, so I'm going to get to a couple of the things that I just found funny. Don't name your kids after your grandkids or your lineage, right? Because then you're Charles 1, Charles 2, Charles 5, right?
Yeah, Big Charles, Little Charles, Big Dottie, Little Dottie.
I always found that funny. And the Goldbergs from some TV fame were your neighbors, right?
That's right. Yep. Still really good friends, and characters that beyond what was on the TV show.
Oh yeah, okay. I admit I never watched it, but anyway. And Kremp's Florist, there's one other thing here that I thought was interesting that I probably didn't ask you about. It says from a small town flower shop to one of the largest florists in the world. Now, that's a big statement.
Yeah, but you know what? There are a lot of flower markets, big flower markets, but there aren't a lot of large florists, as we know a florist, where it's somebody that has personal attention to somebody, makes up arrangements and designs. And so even when I went around the world, there's a lot of flower shops, but there just aren't a lot of large florists. And we know many of them here in the United States, and we have a lot. We have a lot. I think most of the larger ones are in the United States.
Yeah, I would agree. And I believe, because you are literally in Philadelphia, and a lot of that has become because the internet, and you're being able to wire orders around and exchange orders with the various other florists that you connect with, right? Is that how? Yeah.
Well, I used to wonder how we could expand our business beyond just this Philadelphia market.
Right.
And boy, then the internet came along, and now it's through the world. And we're very fortunate in that one of our sons is very good at the internet, and
Right.
he's a communications major. So we have a great website. And what this does for a lot of the florists that we gather orders for, we sell them, or we send them orders that are profitable, that they can make. For instance, it's unbelievable how many orders we have for Guam. And the florist in Guam loves us because we have a good website. We sell what she can make and what she can make money on. So that's the important thing, gather orders that everybody's going to be happy with.
Yeah, and that's not always the case because you can get orders that you can't fulfill, and make profit on, which is
Well, and
bad
we
thing.
all know about the way that pictures are taken so that it shows all the flowers on one side or so. So we just don't do that. And you know what? If we have to charge more, well, we charge more.
Right?
In fact, people in the industry are so concerned about costs, a few pennies more here or there for flowers. And unfortunately, the marketing effort has not succeeded because people are worried about the cost. But people, when they buy from a flower shop, they're not buying flowers. They're buying a nice thank you note. And if we produce something that's going to make the receiver happy, the sender will be happy, everybody will be happy, and we can absorb the extra a little bit of flower cost for flowers or marketing.
Yeah, I think, well, you made a good point about, how that all translates when a increase in prices from the farm because of labor increases. When it finally gets to you, per unit, it's not that much per stem or per bunch or whatever.
Many years ago, the SAF asked if I would go and testify in Washington against the rates that the credit card companies were charging us. And at the time, I might have been 3% or 5%. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because there's value there. Like if our average sale was $30 or $50, and we had to pay 3% or 5%, it was so much cheaper than for us to bill ourselves,
Sure.
have to carry this. And so the services that we get, and we include whatever our costs are in the cost of the product. And the important thing is that the customer is happy with at the end result. And they can be if it's a really good design.
And you have some really good designs. So I had the opportunity to visit you on Valentine's Day and watch what happens. And much to my surprise, while there was a lot of activity, it was so organized because you have a big family and well-trained employees. What the important part was eating cheesesteaks, because everything else was pretty done and just waiting for the people to show up. I loved it.
Well, I had all kinds of things to try to get you to come, and the cheesesteaks did it.
That was the winner.
Willie, it's fortuitous that we're doing this right after you sent out the flowers and scents with the comments from the industry. And, when you get old, you can make your opinions known, and some people are annoyed with you and others aren't. But it's important to make people think. And a couple of things came from that. One of them was when retailers sent in, and I've heard this before, bragging about the fact that they sold out. I mean, that's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing for the whole industry because these same people are saying, we don't have enough business in July and August. Well, the reason we don't have enough business in July and August is because when a customer who has never enjoyed flowers wants them at Mother's Day, they call and their phones turned out, they can't take care of it. The one florist that closed on Mother's Day
Yep.
because it was hot and it was the Villages, I was thinking, my goodness, open at 4 p.m, deliver at dinner time.
Yeah,
but,
right.
but capture the customer. That's the important thing. And that's really good for wholesalers. Wholesalers can do a lot to help florists too. One of the hurdles that I've heard over the years is, well, we don't have enough refrigerator space to produce early. Now that flowers are such high quality, they should get these flowers in a week to 2 weeks in advance, make up arrangements. If they don't have enough refrigerator space, work with a wholesaler to have a cart with some things there. But the important thing is not to turn down business. I think one of the best things that has grown our business is the fact that we don't want to have to turn down an order. And for years, we would have people call us when most of the orders were over the phone and say, can you deliver something to my mother? And we'd say, yes. And they'd say, oh my goodness, I've called 12 shops and none of them are doing it. Well, our people would say, well, then you know who to call first the next time. We've got to make sure that we realize that a holiday is such a marketing opportunity. And we hear so much about in Europe and how they want to have, our industry wants to be like Europe for day-to-day flowers and all. Well, when I was chairman of AFMC, I remember talking to people from Europe. They were so envious of our market because the value that is instilled in our product because of passing along love and good feelings is so great that we don't have the same price problems selling them as they do over there. So we should maximize that. And holidays are the time.
Yeah, for better or worse, yeah, the holidays at the time. People want to buy flowers, and I think Mother's Day proved that out. People, what I hear, I didn't hear back from Scott, so I don't know what your results were, but I at least everybody else said basically good things. So I assume.
Yeah, we had a really good holiday.
Yeah, I would imagine. Okay. A couple other things that I always find interesting because of the book. Okay, so you write in the book there that you took some flying lessons, but more importantly, you think that if you're on that big airplane, that big 747, and they say, "Is there anybody who can fly this plane because the pilots are sick or something?" You'd raise your hand, and I have that same illusion, Charles, because I did solo. I never got my license, but I did solo in this little airplane. And the basics of an airplane are the same. You have to get it off the ground, get it back on the ground. You got motors and all sorts of gadgets. But I wonder if I would really raise my hand, Charles, in that case. But in my mind, I could fly the plane.
Well, we talked about how, we did have 10 hours of instruction.
Yeah.
So who knows after that?
Yeah. My favorite line was my pilot instructor says, "Don't touch any buttons that have dust on them." And I said, okay, that means you don't use those buttons often. Another thing that happened between us, or that we both were involved in, was World Commerce Online, which was something that I was president of for a while, and one of the founders, if you will, of that failed attempt to put flowers on the internet and connect buyers and sellers. The interesting part was after I left, they brought you in as a consultant, and in the end, you ended up with the program, which is cool. I liked it. We were just a bit too early for that adventure, but now it works.
Yeah, yeah, but it gave us a boost for our website, and that's the way the industry is growing. We used to have, and I showed you all the places where we'd have phone people. Well,
Yes.
Our son Chad, who takes care of all of that area, really was worried this Mother's Day because we had less than half as many phone people, and we had many, many more orders because it used to be 5% came over the web or the internet and 95 the other way. Well, it's reversed, and what a convenient tool that is.
For sure. Hey, while we're talking about sort of wire services and stuff, you're a big FTD member, I guess, so how are you getting good orders through that, or are you able to turn down orders that you think are not profitable? How's that work?
Well, we raised the minimum, and so if the minimum is high enough. We were getting complaints on $29.95 something because even if it's exactly like the picture, it doesn't please the customer. Somebody's sending something for this wow, and they get this puny little something.
Yeah.
So we raised the minimum, and then at holiday time, we ask how many orders they think that we're going to get through their system, and we make that plus a certain percentage over it. And we have, once we get to that, then that's all of those incoming ones that we're going to take. It's whatever they said. It's like that was their order. But then it now allows us to take care of local customers all day. I mean, up until 5 or 6 o'clock on Mother's Day Sunday itself. It opens up for that. But the orders themselves, they're good when the minimum is raised.
Efficient. Okay, so you can say, okay, this is the order. We're not doing anything less than this particular number. Okay, that makes total sense.
Well, the other thing is our son Scott, that runs the company, has a very good rapport with those people and has and talks with them frequently to just give input on what a florist is looking for. These guys are really good at the wire service business, but there's none of them really that are a florist, a normal florist. So we're impressed with the fact that they're listening to florists, and it's paying off. Same with Teleflora, 800 flowers. We don't get as much through those, but we welcome any of these. The other is that it's an opportunity to get a customer because they see they're happy with what we send them, and then we have a chance to get those recipients as customers.
You have any other tips for some florists there, Charles? Could you?
Well, there's a couple of philosophies in my book at the end, and the way the book was written is there's this kid from the 50s and 60s that people of our age will hopefully enjoy some of those little anecdotes.
I did.
And then it's the mid years when we do nothing but work and start to build a business. And then it's a lot of my experiences dealing with people in the industry. And I'll tell you the best of all was with SAF, because the SAF back then, it's the Society of American Florists.
Right.
It's not an association. And the society meant that we were together and had a lot of time to be with others, and we developed great friendships. So there's a lot of that through it. But there's two of the philosophies in the end that pretty much governed everything that I did. One of them was things don't have to be the way they seem to have to be. Too often we just accept what's given to us. But then when we take that into account, the next one is, if it is to be, it's up to me. Because you can't sit back and have somebody else be in charge of your destination. I don't care how little or how big it is. Yeah. But so those little things at the end of the book are, there's more of those philosophies. And it's not so much to tell somebody what to do or how to do it, but it's to get them to think about how they're doing and what they're doing and maybe do something different. And by the way, we don't have this on Amazon. It's just on Kremp.com. It's an easy kind of a thing. And there are a lot of pictures, 200 pictures. So that was a friend of mine who said, I'll read it if there's pictures. But then the last thing, I want to make sure that I let everybody know, 32 years ago, Tom Butler, Sam Viviano, and I started this group, FIBS. And it's a group of people that get together for about 4 days in Michigan, play a lot of golf, and talk about the industry. And we've had over 100 of the industry's leaders and everybody from a 19-year-old to 80-something. And there's a couple more openings if somebody wants to do it. They just email me, charles@kremp.com. And it really is not only a fun time, but rewarding time.
Yes. I haven't been there, but I like the concept. And where can they can buy this on Kremp.com?
Kremp.com, yep.
Okay, beautiful.
And any comments or so, they can just send them to me, charles@kremp.com, and they can yell at me or whatever as well.
Oh, I don't think anything.
I'm thick-skinned.
I don't think you said anything terribly controversial here, other than, hey, pay attention, open your eyes, open your ears, don't be afraid to take chances. You took several chances in the book. It illustrates that. Sometimes you got to hold your breath and say, oops, I hope I'm right. And it turns out you're right. And in the end, you have a nice family. You have a wonderful business. You have a good history, Charles. And one of the things I'll leave us with, you and I talked a lot about those old families. When you go to an SAF convention or whatever, there was the Benjamins and everybody else, and the different people of those families. And I just came from a show in Miami, and we'll go to another one next week. And as I said to you, I think the names have changed, the families have changed, they moved on or retired or whatever. But there are these new families, if you will, that have are really digging into the flower industry. So I think there is hope for us to move forward and keep it a society. I like that concept and the reference, because it was nice.
The culture has changed everywhere, and people are busier and both spouses work. One of the things that we shared, Willie, was we both worked for a long time and never regretted getting up to go to work. No. Always enjoyed what we were doing, even the tough stuff.
Some days it was tough, but yeah, you got up and went there. And the flower business, every day is a new, something new. There's no normalcy to it other than uncertainty. So All right, sir. I appreciate your time. I'm glad we got a chance to do this. And in regards to Gina and the family, and I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Good. Thanks.
All
Thanks,
right.
Willie.
Bye now.